welcome back to Expedition 33, where we're onwards with our story, and we had a very big scene today, which I know from our VOD watchers, some people are very angry about. I will explain why I reacted the way I did, and we pushed on into an ever-evolving storyline of what in the hell is going on here, man? What is going on? And also, I hit stubborn mic mode, which, for familiar viewers, you will understand what this is. But essentially, we were on our way. Today, we're going to be entering Act 2 of the game. That's where we're going to be. We're on a lovely mission with SK. And we're moving our way through to find his pet rock. SK is a character that's either ultra playing his intelligence down, or is just a simple giant that has caused these problems and is so charismatic that people just let him get away with some of the horrible things he's done. We meet in literally an expedition that he's poisoned to death and killed, and he's like really mean but loving to his neighbor, but I think his neighbor doesn't see it that way, like, at all, but maybe he does. But SK is like so charming. So charming, and does become your mount, which was great. We actually got a land mount, which was awesome. He's a lovable giant monster, right? He's got this like Shrek vibe, but also there's some darkness there. There's some real darkness going on there, which is interesting to say the least. Very interesting. But we're on a mission to get his rock because he can't swim without his rocks. It has been, like, it is confirmed in some of the dialogue that you have, is that he loses these rocks intentionally, so he has a reason to go on adventures. So he's obviously just, he wants to enjoy the however long life that SK has had. And the way he does that is he's just like, oh, I'm a big fan of rocks, and the rocks are all missing. I've lost my rocks. You got, because none of it makes sense, right? He needs his rocks to swim or whatever. But he's like doing it so he has adventures and things to go on and a reason to get people on quests and do all that kind of stuff. I do suspect whether SK is like the mastermind behind everything. Is SK actually like in command of this whole thing? As spoilers, is that at a certain point in the future, SK is described as being the most powerful creature in the world. There's throwaway lines all the time in this game where you're like, wait, what? What is going on? Wait, SK is the most powerful, and you do see SK absolutely demolish various enemies that you struggle with, and I'm like, is there more going on with SK, like, at the end? Is SK going to be the one that has to, like, bring down the Mega Boss or something like that? Because they just say, well, it is known. It's like common knowledge. SK is the most powerful creature in the world. And you're like, wait a minute. That's kind of a big deal, right? That's kind of a big deal. But either way, we're going through our rocks and we end up on a cliff line. I'm going to get the bosses slightly out of order here, but I did want to talk about these bosses. My full Agi build is still ongoing. Keeping the dream alive. It still hasn't come and really bit me in the butt just yet. Although it is... I'll talk about that a different day. A conversation I had yesterday with Nupss. I'll talk about it in the next video. But full Agi build is still going. I think the first boss we fought here, yes it is, on the corner was the Lamplighter boss. This was beautiful. Such a, like, pull away... like, the inspiration of FromSoft here is so... and Lovecraftian themes is so on the nose. Like, the cutscenes, particular with Duelista that we find later, are almost ripped entirely from, like, Souls 3 and Bloodborne. And Souls 2, actually. It's almost point for point. One in particular, Duelista. I don't want to talk. I'm going to talk about Lamplighter in a second, but I want to talk about Duelista because this is relevant to what we're talking about now. That cutscene of the introduction of Duelista is almost point per point Ludwig in Bloodborne. As many of you know, Bloodborne is my favorite game of all time. And this is point for point the fight with Ludwig. And the room is almost identical. It's just a bit smaller. And there's a point in that fight. If you've never done the Ludwig fight, one, go and do it. Like, it's well worth picking up a cheap PS4 or whatever to play that, and there are other ways available. And doing the Bloodborne and its DLC, because it's so good. And then watch all the lore stories. There's a lot happening in that game. There's a midpoint phase transition with Ludwig, where the Moonlight Greatsword makes its appearance, which is an infamous weapon throughout all of the Souls games. It appears in every single one of them. I think Sekiro even has one. Can't remember. I think it does. But the Moonlight Greatsword, which has a very clear animation and glow to it, a very cyanish glow. And that happens here, and I was like, oh, my precious Moonlight. Like, the inspiration is so on its sleeve for that fight. And the fight itself is heavily based on, I don't know, the old Dragon Hunter, maybe? Souls 2 fans? I actually thought he looked like Fume Knight at first, but I was like, oh, this is more reminiscent of somebody else, actually. Great fights, both of them. Killed them in a couple of goes. I was really sad I failed the one-shot on Lamplighter, actually. This is going to be a common theme. So I've seen some feedback from some people who have given up on certainly expert mode because it was a little too much for them. And I'm having a really good time with expert mode. It's making it work for me. But I know some people consider these fights really hard. I might be over-leveled. I am now, for sure, but as of recording now. But also, I'm just getting used to harder bosses, doing much more difficult. In general, been a rule I've taught you guys since I started doing guides 10 years ago, is like, do harder content, and it makes everything else just feels infinitely easier. But Lamplighter, I almost one-shot. I figured out its mechanic very quickly. It's a mechanic that is popped up in multiple games, is the Order of Lights. Destiny 2 was the most recent one I think we did that was like that in a big boss encounter. But I ultimately, like, didn't know what some of the attacks were, so he bled me down, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm kind of screwed now, to figure this out. Interestingly enough, failing the lamp attack causes him to do a giant swathe, which, after a couple of goes with it, I was like, this is actually easier to avoid than some of his other attacks. It's actually not that bad to get that done. But it was really fun. It was really, really fun. It actually, gorgeous animation. Loved the phase transition. The first time we got a phase transition on a story boss, so we know that's coming later on. Like, enjoyed the hell out of this. Wonderfully, wonderfully designed fight. Really nice. Little tricky. They're getting a little tricky now with their tells. A lot of more baits are coming in, because they know you've probably got parry and dodge timing down by now, so now they can be a little bit more flexible in how they telegraph those things. Gets even worse later, but it's much fun. But then comes the infamous cutscene. Now, look... I'm not going to beat you around the bush here. I laughed my arse off when this happened.
No. Like I always say, it's not about the rock. It's more about...
Get sniped.
Run.
Is he dead? Dude, I leveled that guy. Bro got fucking sniped, no way.
Run. Please run.
I don't think so. No Forrest Gump left in that mustache. Are they killing this character? No way. This is because I didn't play CL, isn't it?
For those who come after.
Right, is he still dead? Just healed to full.
No. You promised.
That is a big wound. Sword. I want to be clear on this. There's a reason I reacted this way. Firstly, since TDP1, I told you that Gustav was going to die. Like, as soon as they gave that guy a journal to jot down what was going on for future generations, I was like, well, he's dead. Like, this, he's blatantly dead. So I've been, like, waiting for that guy to be in a box since, like, the second he... As soon as that guy got a journal, I was like, oh, well, he's doomed, obviously, right? I mean, and that is correct. Some people are like, why? A good story should have telegraphs that fit the puzzle pieces should fit the jigsaw at the end, right? The jigsaw pieces should fit the final product. There is nothing worse, and this happened a lot in like 2020-ish and 2015 to 2020, is that people were writing these really complexly woven stories because of Game of Thrones in particular, which was such a popular thing globally, that they decided to start subverting expectations, was a phrase that was tossed around all the time. Where, like, they would write a story and then fans would, like, figure out the story, rightfully so, because all the jigsaw pieces were there. Like, clever fans were like, oh, this is probably what's going on. And then they would do something completely off the wall to subvert expectations. It was like, well, this is stupid, because now you've just left all these dangling plot threads that don't actually make any sense. Like, Star Wars is incredibly guilty of this. Remember those Jedi kids at the end of Rogue One or whatever it was that were playing around on that gambling planet? Like, what happened to that? Stupid. Like, just nonsense. I hate it when they do that. Like, a good story, everything should fit together. So it made sense that Gustav was going to die. So I wasn't surprised that he died. I was surprised how he died, because it was really funny to me that he just got completely sniped off screen. I was like, oh, right, it's not even going to be an epic. He just gets blasted in the stomach. But also, I knew it was going to happen right now. And why? Ominous. Hello?
Ooh, what about that one?
The banging of that stick as Renoir approaches, which we now know his name from this cutscene, is like the tolling of the bells. Like, that's like the Undertaker's entrance theme. It's like, boom, boom. I was like, okay, well, he's turbo dead here, right? Especially because we've separated the party. It's only Mael and Gustav that are up on the cliff. Like, he's totally doomed. Like, it was blatantly about when he was going to die. So, yeah, I knew he was going to die at this point. The way he died, though, was really funny. I actually give this, I was talking to Chris about it, I give this whole, like, character death thing for a lot of people who maybe didn't see this coming or didn't think it would happen this early in the game, like an 8 out of 10. I have very, very nitpicky issues with how they did this, but they're really nitpicky, but I think they are worth merit of discussion for you guys as to how you feel about it. I don't think they should have done the battle sequence that happens with Renoir after you've been hit by the cannon blast through the stomach, because it creates a really weird issue in that they didn't do any animations that signify how weak Gustav is at that point. In fact, you can heal to full and all his animations and his attacks work perfectly normally. That creates a weird disconnect between the fact that when this scene ends, you go back to Gustav who could barely stand and he's pouring blood all over the floor. Like, it's a weird disconnect. And it's been done in other games in a much better way. I would particularly point out here, I don't know if Bex can find the clip somewhere, of Raiden versus Sam at the very beginning of Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. That is a great example of you being the character in a no-win situation. Argument could be made as again for Thancred versus Ranji in Shadowbringers. A very similar, unwinnable feeling situation where you feel genuinely like, okay, we're on the losing end of this, we're screwed, and he's toying with us. He's toying with us in this battle scene because you can't really damage him, but we're playing perfectly. It just doesn't fit the narrative that Gustav is screwed in any way. So I don't think they needed that. I get why they did it. They wanted some progress of reactions to what's going on. You know, we've got CL and Lune down at the bottom like, what the hell is going on up there? Something's wrong, right? There's a definite moment happening. And they wanted that, and they wanted a bit more dialogue and exposition from Renoir. Just didn't fit. I also do not think they should have introduced Verso in the same cutscene.
It's been a while. Stay out of this. You chose to walk away. You don't get to come back now and interfere.
You've lived more than a lifetime.
It's time to let her go.
I think it was a little rushed. We have enough characters to form a party, and I now know they're totally okay with separating the party. I think what we could have had is the girls hear from SK in particular, because SK and Verso are really close friends, is like them being really down, and SK saying like, there's okay, we could do with finding somebody. He might not want to. We need to go here for the next narrative to go and get Verso. Rather than it's like Gustav dies, but hi, and he literally like appears within a couple of like within the same scene of like, well, I'm here now and I am Gustav too, and it just immediately comes in. Those are very nitpicky though. They wanted to move the story forward, like very nitpicky. It didn't spoil it for me at all. I thought the whole thing was handled very, very well, and the funeral was good too. Although we were memeing at the time, but again, because I knew Gustav was disappearing, like I wasn't shocked or like. I wasn't taken aback by this, and I'd been less emotionally invested in him because I knew this guy was going out from day one. So it was one of those. It was cool. It was very cool. But now we have Verso. Who is just better than Gustav. Sorry, Gustav. Or Steve, as he's now called. Sorry, Steve, because Verso is just way, way better, and also. Like, out of pure chance, played magnificently into my stupid Agi build because he has an attack called Speed Attack that does more damage based on the speed difference of you and the enemy, and it just does ludicrous amounts of damage. Ludicrous. And played through there. That's where we're up to, and then we entered Act 2, where I got a bit more world exploration because SK can swim now. So that was great, and I started exploring the world, which brings us to our first wall of death. I found a guy, the Frost Esquire, something like that. I'm not sure what he's called, but a giant world frost boss. I have been good. I have been such a good guy. How humble as well. About not being super stubborn. The first was the Welsh sheep, which still lives. Where I can see it's doable with a consistent string of perfect parries. But we just don't have anywhere near enough reasonable damage to actually make anything happen to these insane health bars. So I've left it. I have not committed and left it. However, this time that changed. And the reason that changed is I have more abilities and spells now, which kind of do interesting things. In particular, I have Raging Fire on Lune. Now, Raging Fire is a ramping up ability that as long as you perfect parry, she will quickly hit 10k consistently, which is the damage cap, and she will just keep chunking those bosses down if you can get the ramp up going. And with buffs and with Verso's really good damage, and the fact that he can work on a number of different things, and more choices in Pictos and stuff, I was like, you know, I think I've got a real chance of killing this. Obviously, the widespread opinion of the chat was like, absolutely not. This is so stupid. Please don't do this. So I did it. I tried it and did not kill it. But I tried for a good couple of hours. My best pull, very similar to Alatreon. I want to explain why I do this for any new viewers. Like, why would you bother? Just come back with more levels. I am not going to get that same satisfying experience of overcoming something like this if I just come back and kill it, like, at a level appropriate or whatever. Like, I brought up a couple of times, I definitely know the damage cap is going to break. We're way too early in the game to be hitting 10k as regularly as we do. And so, at some point, they're going to break the damage cap. Otherwise, everybody's just going to be doing 10k every hit, and it's just going to be miserable and boring. I don't think they're going to do that. So if I come back with like the damage cap raised and I can get, say, even in this case, Raging Fire to tick for like, I don't know, fucking twice as much, 3 times as much, and the boss just dies, that's just not fun. But this is a reasonable challenge right now that I could deal with because his attacks were very, very simple. Also, I thought, on the very last pull of the day, I actually got a good roll going, a good streak, and we got him down to like 30%. I got really good with the timings. A couple of mistakes here and there, which is understandable when you're avoiding or perfect parrying several, like by that point, probably like 100 plus spells. And it's a good 25-minute fight to get his damage down, to get his HP bar down. So, like, really got a good streak going. And I was like, we might kill it. And I had a heart rate monitor at this point, which was, maybe not at this point, I think it's for the next day. But I could feel my heart pounding. I could feel it happening. Like, we're going to do this. This is going to happen. And it got to 30% where he unleashed ultimate power. I did suspect there was something coming. Where it just goes, as the Frost dude has now unleashed ultimate power, and actually one of the most tricky mechanics here is that a camera pulls out and changes your view and perspective of things, and that makes it really hard to see what was going on as my entire party was eradicated. And then he introduced a gradient attack at the end, which I was totally woefully unprepared for, because I'd not done that throughout any other part of the fight. And I was like, oh my god. We're so close. We're so close. And people at this point, I'm not going to lie, are begging me not to continue with this. So I'll see you tomorrow.